Hey guys, here we are at the end of the year or near the end of the year, and it's time for us to look back into history at Josephine Cochrane and the birth of dishwashers. So I'm not thinking that she gave birth to a dishwasher, but I think she might have something to do with where dishwashers came from. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. If she had actually given birth to a dishwasher, then we would definitely all know her name, because that would be a really unusual situation.
Pretty famous.
But yes, the birth of something, it could be the natural birth, of course, like the birth of a baby or a young animal or something. But we also use it for the creation of something, the birth of cinema, the birth of the airplane or whatever, when we're looking back at the history of a certain machine. And this is an interesting one, because when we're talking about inventing machines 100 years ago or so, and many of the modern machines we have now were first thought of, invented, conceived, or made, usually it's a guy or a group of guys or something, right? Daimler-Benz and the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell and all sorts of people. But here we have Josephine Cochrane. She is the person to thank for the wonderful dishwasher, which are actually kind of rare in Taiwan.
They are rare in Taiwan, but they can be very, very helpful.
They're super helpful. They just take up a lot of space. I think that might be part of the reason. But yeah, I would never have guessed that a lady was the responsible, scientist, engineer, inventor, I guess we can say. She's definitely an inventor, even if she wasn't a trained scientist or engineer, but she's the one who invented or first created the dishwasher. How cool is that?
Very cool. And if she had wanted to hide the fact that she was a woman, she could have called herself Joe Cochrane.
She could have, I guess, too. And I guess it's also interesting, as we'll learn, she was rich.
She was super rich.
Yeah.
We're going to find out about it in our article, so let's listen to it one time.
Josephine Cochrane and the birth of dishwashers. 12 dinner guests have just left your house, and now a tower of greasy plates stares back at you mockingly. Your hands are already wrinkling as you think about scrubbing each dish by hand. This nightmare bothered households for centuries, until inventors in the 19th century tried to solve the problem. The first mechanical dishwashers, created in the 1850s, were wooden machines with hand cranks that splashed water over dishes. Unfortunately, these early devices were unreliable and often damaged delicate items. The real breakthrough came in the 1880s, thanks to Josephine Cochrane, a wealthy American socialite. According to her own account, she became frustrated by servants breaking her expensive china plates when washing them by hand, so she decided to invent a better solution. She designed wire racks to hold dishes securely, which solved the problem of fragile items being damaged. At the same time, hot, soapy water continuously streamed over everything, so the dishes were cleaned far more thoroughly than in previous machines. Recognizing her invention's potential, Cochrane took it to market. She patented her design in 1886 and then started her own company to manufacture the machines. In 1893, she presented her dishwasher at the World's Columbian Exposition, where it drew considerable interest from hotels and restaurants. Soon after, Cochrane's revolutionary dishwasher inspired many companies to follow her lead. They adapted her basic design to develop dishwashers powered by steam. However, it was hard for dishwashers to enter the household market at first. Early models were large, expensive, and impractical for most homes. It was not until the 1950s, when hot water systems and plumbing improved and dishwashers became smaller and more affordable, that they became widespread. What began as one woman's frustration with broken china plates eventually changed kitchens around the world. Her story not only proves that women can excel at engineering, but also that even daily annoyances can lead to extraordinary innovation.
So we start out not talking about Josephine Cochrane, but we're setting a little, view of the evening. You've got your 12 dinner guests, and they've just left your house. So you've had a party with all your friends, and they've all left your house. And now you have what? Well, you have all the dirty dishes, and not just one or two, but a tower of greasy plates with oil all over them. And those plates are just like they've turned into a human and they're staring back at you and they're doing it in a mocking manner. They're staring back at you mockingly. So they're kind of sneering and laughing at you because, ha, 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 you have to wash us. That's an anthropomorphic description of plates, which means making plates into something, sound like something that's human, right? So if you anthropomorphize something, you make it, you give it human characteristics. Plates can't smile at you or stare at you. Your hands are already wrinkling as you think about scrubbing each dish by hand. Wrinkling because when you put your hands in water for a long time, you get those little wrinkles and puckers on your fingers, right? So your hands are wrinkling, your fingers are wrinkling, probably more than your hands, as you're thinking about scrubbing each dish. And this nightmare, this thing that is going to keep you up at night and terrify you and wake you from your sweet dreams, a nightmare, has bothered households for centuries until inventors in the 19th century tried to solve the problem. Nightmare, again, just being something that is terrifying. Sometimes they're called night terrors. It's when you're having this dream, oftentimes that you don't feel like you can wake up from, and it's just absolutely terrifying. Maybe someone's chasing you down an alley with a knife in their hand, or maybe somebody is talking to you, but there's nobody there, or there are so many things that can scare a person. Maybe it's a room full of spiders. If it were from Raiders of the Lost Ark, it would have been a room full of snakes. You know, those are things that can create nightmares. If you have something terrible happen in your life, you might then dream about it later on in nightmares. So all sorts of things can bring about nightmares, your fears, bad events in your life, and stuff like that.
Of course, it can just also be a terrible situation with a lot of bad luck, right? It was a nightmare. I locked myself out of my house. I didn't have my umbrella. I dropped my phone in the toilet that morning. It was just awful. It was just really a horrible, horrible experience. So yeah, having to do, 12 guests, 4 or 5 dishes each. We're talking about 60 dishes maybe until you're done and you can finally go to bed. What a terrible situation. So what are we going to do about this? Well, it says the first mechanical dishwashers created in the 1850s were wooden machines with hand cranks that splashed water over dishes. So this is not Josephine Cochrane's creation. This is the very first kind of dishwasher. This is the dinosaur of dishwashers. First of all, they were mechanical. When you see mechanical, you're probably talking about something that uses machine parts but is powered by hand in some kind of way. There'll be gears, there'll be cogs, you'll turn a wheel or a handle, and things will turn inside. A mechanical watch is one of those ones you have to wind every couple of hours, a few times a day. Otherwise, it will just run out of power. It has no battery. It has no electrical power. It's sort of physically powered, often by an animal or by human power. And these were created in the 1850s, quite a long time ago. They're wooden machines. They had a hand crank, so you had a handle that you would turn around and around and around. If you want the machine to work, someone has to be there using muscle power to do it. And they splashed water over dishes. So it doesn't even sound like the most effective way of cleaning dishes, and it was inconvenient and probably quite tiring to use. Maybe not if you had a servant, but still, someone had to actually sit there and physically turn it to wash the dishes. Unfortunately, these early devices or machines were unreliable and often damaged delicate items, which kind of ruins the point. The dish is clean, but I broke it in 5 pieces. So that's not really very effective. A device is, a machine of many different types. Often with a device, it might be a smaller machine that you kind of operate by hand. I don't think anyone would ever call the space shuttle a device. It might be something more like a television remote control or a mixer you might use in your kitchen, something like that. But it will be a machine. We wouldn't really call a knife or a hammer or a screwdriver a device. It might be something that has moving parts and it kind of helps with the work by saving us energy or time or something like that. So these were not very good. They didn't work very well, unreliable. They probably broke a lot. And they would also break the dishes that you're trying to wash. Not really great.
But those were the early ones from the 1850s. And the real breakthrough came in the 1880s, thanks to Josephine Cochrane, a wealthy American socialite. So the real improvement in dishwashers, the real breakthrough, the real like move forward. It's like you're thrusting yourself forward and you're breaking through something that was kind of holding you back before. Here it's like unreliable, creaky wooden dishwashers to the new fancy dishwashers because of our American socialite. And a socialite is someone who is socially famous. So there's lots of folks out there that could be actors, they could be politically famous and then be known in social spheres. They could be people that are married to wealthy people. Normally wealthy people are going to be socially famous, but they can be married to wealthy people, and they can be giving lots of money to foundations and things like that. So they go to a lot of events. They go to a lot of social soirees, gatherings, and that makes them kind of the socialites. They're the people who are out there and are known around town for being famous in one way or another, wealthy or pretty or some version of that, or politically powerful, different elements there. According to her own account, so according to her own story, she became frustrated by servants breaking her expensive china plates when washing them by hand. So she decided to invent a better solution. If you remember, we talked about unspoken advantages in another article for political correctness this month. This would be an example of those unspoken advantages. Oh, you have servants who are doing your dishes. Oh, darn, those servants are breaking your dishes, and they're expensive china plates. That doesn't necessarily mean they're from China. It's the material. They are called china. You normally would get these at your wedding. You'd be gifted fancy dinner china at your wedding, and that would include all the different fancy plates that you used for formal occasions. But she decided she needed to invent a better solution, a better answer. She designed wire racks to hold dishes securely. That's really smart, right? Because you need to hold them in place so they don't move around when the water splashes on them and they break from hitting each other. And then she solved the problem of fragile items being damaged like that. And at the same time, hot soapy water continuously streamed over everything, so the dishes were cleaned far more thoroughly than in previous machines. I'll let you take over with that one, Mike.
All right. So, we're kind of describing the action inside the machine as it worked. So we know the plates were held securely and safely in these wire racks. The wire rack, of course, allows water to flow all around the plate or cup or bowl or whatever we're talking about. And how did the washing actually happen? Well, the earlier machine kind of just splashed water on something. And if you're just sort of throwing water at something, you'll get it wet. But will you get it clean? Maybe not all parts from all angles. So in this one, we had hot water, which of course is very much easier, much more effective at cleaning greasy, oily things. And it's soapy water. So the water and the soap would be mixed. This is sort of throwing or spraying this very effective cleaning solution of hot water and soap over the dishes, and it streamed continuously all the time. So it might actually be, the plates will be getting the shower, the soapy shower for 10 or 20 minutes as the machine runs its cycle. And so the dishes were cleaned far more thoroughly. When something's done thoroughly, it's done well. It covers all the different parts of it. It is done to sort of 100% or something like that. If you really want to get ready for your big exam, study all the past lessons thoroughly. Don't just sort of scan it or jump through it or guess at what the teacher might ask you. Study 100% A to Z, every single part. If you're going to be clean, you have to wash thoroughly. Your parents might have told you, wash your neck, wash behind your ears, wash between your toes. Don't forget all those places. You want to do the job well and fully, in other words. And so that's how she did it. And it does kind of sound like a pretty modern washing machine, or dishwasher, I should say, from that basic description.
Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick. 今天讲解的是 Josephine Cochrane and the Birth of Dishwashers. 这个单元是一篇篇章结构测验，介绍的是洗碗机。在台湾有很多人选择外食，其中一个理由就是不想在吃完饭以后还要去洗碗。有了洗碗机，应该可以节省不少时间吧？而且呢，在家里面也不用在那里吵说到底轮到谁应该去洗碗了。好，那我们一起来看学习重点吧。请同学看到第一题 第一题在第一段。好，前面呢讲到的是12位来吃晚餐的客人，他们刚刚离开家里面。那我们就看到眼前呢有一座油腻碗盘堆起来的高高的塔，好像在嘲笑我们说啊，要洗碗了吧？那我们光想到呢要用手一个一个的洗，那双手就已经开始皱了。那接着呢，我们看到后面的句子，后面句子说1850年代发明第一批机械式洗碗机。那当时这个洗碗机是有手摇的把手的木质机器，会把水呢泼洒到碗盘上。那我们看一下前文后文都很清楚了，空格应该要填入的就是要怎样呢？承先启后嘛。好，那前面讲的是一般人做家事的困扰，对吧？堆积如山的碗盘等着让我们洗到双手皱巴巴的。那后面呢就要衔接说，那后面这个机器呢是解决了不用在手洗的麻烦。那我们看一下这几个选项，发现 C This nightmare bothered households。 好，这是最理想的答案。 Until 它前面所说的是几百年来常见的家事噩梦， Until 后面呢是说明19世纪的伟大发明。第一题正确答案是 C。 好，但是呢不幸的是，这一些早期的所谓洗碗机不是那么可靠，而且呢常常会把碗盘打破。那我们就接着往下看第二题咯。第二题要从第二段里面去看，前面讲说真正的突破呢要等到1880年代。那当时美国有位有名的社交名媛叫 Josephine， 她怎么样呢？这是她自己的讲法她说呢，因为他们家的仆人呢在用手洗这些碗盘的时候打破他昂贵的瓷盘，他就觉得不太高兴嘛。那所以呢他就决定发明更好的解决方案。那空格后面呢讲到，与此同时热的肥皂水会持续不断的流过所有的碗盘，那让这些餐具清洗的比之前的机器呢还要更彻底。那我们从空格来判断，前面跟后面的句子都看了，那这里呢在讲的就是新的发明，对吧？它是针对旧的这种洗碗机做改良。那应该这句就是要讲到底是改良到哪里去吗？有什么样改良的方式？所以我们选 E She designed wire racks to hold dishes securely。原来呢她设计了可以固定碗盘的金属架，那就解决了碗盘容易呢打破的问题。第二题正确答案是 E。
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back and we're going to see what Josephine Cochran is going to do with this machine that she thought up. Recognizing her invention's potential, so seeing that her creation had real possibilities, she took it to market. Here it means to put it out to try and get it sold. So first she patented her design. So she went in and she got this written right that's like stops other people from being able to produce and copy her machine without paying her money to do it. And she patented it. She got that patent that she would hold in her hands. That's the noun. Verb is patenting. And she did that in 1886. And then she started her own company to manufacture, to make the machines. You can manufacture all sorts of things in your own company. If you want to manufacture something, you can either make it in your company or you can go and make a connection or a contract with an outside manufacturer who will build it or make it for you. To manufacture, again, just means to make or build or create. You're going to manufacture that said thing probably with lots of different mechanical devices, like we mentioned earlier. In 1893, she presented her dishwasher at the World's Columbian Exposition, where it drew considerable interest from hotels and restaurants. So she went out there and she went to the exposition. The expo a lot of time. The World Expo, it's called. I think happens every 2 to 4 years in different places all over the world. And it has historically been where these major inventions have been introduced. So you would at different times get to see maybe a hot air balloon going up at an expo or something like this, or see computers and robots introduced at an expo. I think it was in like 1984 that I went to an expo in New Orleans, and we saw the robots wandering around, and that was like a really cool thing at the time to see robots.
Just this year, it was in Osaka, Japan. So some people may have been lucky enough to go to the Osaka Expo. But yeah, they often, as you said, they often demonstrate or unveil, new machines at these places. So that was, I'm sure, very interesting and exciting and appealing. It says soon after the great unveiling of her dishwasher. Soon after, Cochrane's revolutionary dishwasher inspired many companies to follow her lead. So it inspired other companies to come out with, or inventors as well, to come out with similar products because it was revolutionary. When something's revolutionary, well, we often use this in a political way, right? Like a revolutionary movement that looks to overthrow a political system in a country and bring in a new system and new leaders. But we also use it to talk about things that just change the world in a really big way. So computers were revolutionary. The microchip has been revolutionary. Cars were revolutionary. The airplane was revolutionary. Cars allowed people to travel great distances and gave horses the day off. Airplanes allowed people to travel even greater distances. And of course, computers allow us to do all sorts of things much faster and more efficiently. They really change the whole world or the way the world works, the things that are considered possible. So this dishwasher allowed, big hotels or companies or restaurants to, wash many more dishes, not have so many people in the kitchen, make the kitchen smaller. You didn't suddenly need 14 sinks there to wash all the dishes. You just needed 3 of these machines, and it took care of all that work. So it really changed the world, or at least this part of the world, the kitchen, in a major, major way. They adapted her basic design to develop dishwashers powered by steam. So this may be a way of getting around her patent. She had this legal protection to make the machines only her way, and if you copied her, you had to pay her. But of course, with patents, if you change that design a little bit, you can say, oh, no, it's not that patent. We made it steam-powered instead of hot water-powered. It could have also just been better in a way. But anyways, the basic design, in the same way that I think Daimler-Benz created the first car, but the Ford cars and the other company cars that came after that were very, very similar in many ways, although were probably slightly different in their basic engineering. But anyways, a lot of other companies said, that's a great thing. We're just going to improve it. We're going to make our own version because there was obviously a huge market for her, but not the market we might expect.
Yeah. However, it says it wasn't used at homes, initially anyway, because it was hard for dishwashers to enter the household market at first.
Which is funny because that's where she designed it to be used, right? She was having problems at home with her dishes.
She wanted her dishes not to be broken by her servants. So they didn't enter the household market, the market that would be geared towards households as opposed to businesses or larger companies that are out there. Early models, so the ones that first came out, were of course large, expensive, and impractical for most homes. That reminds me absolutely of computers. If you remember back when, they were large, expensive, and impractical for most homes, and too expensive as well. I think my parents spent over $3,000 for a computer back in the mid-90s, and that was just insane at the time. But I was going halfway around the world, and they want to be able to talk to me. But it can be impractical, or something that's not useful or logical for people to have in their homes. It was not until the 1950s when hot water systems and plumbing improved and dishwashers became smaller and more affordable that they became widespread. So once a few things happened, you had hot water systems going, you had plumbing that was better, probably actually went into the house a lot of times, right? Plumbing that would go to the sinks, that would be, the tubes that go into your walls and lead to the outside or lead to a main sewer system, probably. Those are your plumbing lines, and those are things that didn't really exist before, I don't know, the 1800s or so. And that was rapidly improving, so dishwashers became smaller and more affordable. And now they started to become widespread. Everybody started to get a dishwasher for their home.
That's right. You get water into your home through taps. You didn't have to go to a well and things like that. I mean, the Romans had it, but in modern cities, it kind of took a while, right?
Yeah,
because many of these cities grew very, very quickly as well. But yes, plumbing, electricity, right? These things became much more common, and they developed networks and systems to provide these basic services. So what began as one woman's frustration with broken china plates and clumsy servants eventually changed kitchens around the world. So there you go. She just had a problem with washing all these dishes after her big dinner parties, and she had a bunch of servants with butterfingers who kept dropping her. Maybe the servants just didn't like her.
They didn't like her.
Maybe that was it. She was just a bad boss.
Taking
and
out
they're
the
like,
dishes.
oh, whoops,
Oops.
I dropped another dish. Sorry, ma'am.
Or they took it home, maybe.
Or something. Yeah, maybe that's it too. But anyway, she did have a problem and she found a solution. Her story not only proves that women can excel in engineering, but also that even daily annoyances can lead to extraordinary innovation. Absolutely. So this story, and a very interesting one, and I would guess a kind of an unknown little nugget of history for most of us. It proves, though, that women can excel in engineering because, of course, yes, many of the great inventors, when we think of them, or at least the ones we've learned about in school, have been men. But I think there's more and more people coming out with, these ideas. What is it? Ida Lovelace, one of the early pioneers in computers or something. We're learning more about this, so this is a good thing. And to excel in something is to do very well in something. And engineering is basically where science and technology kind of meet and go into the real world. So we're taking ideas, we're taking science, we're taking discoveries, and we're turning them into machines that people can actually use in the real world. So women can do that too. Women can be inventors as well. And also even daily annoyances, annoying things like washing the dishes or dropping the dishes, breaking the dishes, can lead to extraordinary innovation. A simple little thing that you're like, God, that's annoying. I wish someone would do something about that. Well, maybe you can be the one to do it, and you'll become famous and maybe very, very wealthy. I don't know if she became, well, she was already wealthy.
She was
okay. So who knows? Maybe we'll be reading an article about you 80 years from now about how you invented some wonderful thing that stopped, I don't know, buttered bread from falling down face down on the floor in the future.
Okay, everybody, let's listen to our Chinese teacher one more time.
第三题啊，我们看一下哦。前面呢讲到说，社交名媛呢，他不止1886年去申请专利，1893年还在世界哥伦布博览会上面展示洗碗机，引起了饭店还有餐饮业者的高度关注。空格后面讲的是，他们改良它的基本设计，开发出用蒸汽当动力的洗碗机。我们知道英文里面的代名词不会没来由的出现哦。空格后面这里 they 同学应该看到了吧？它一定是代替前面空格句子里面有个复数名词，有能力去做改良的人。所以呢，我们选 B soon after 这边。好，这句话的意思是说，不久之后呢，这个 Josephine 她那个革命性的洗碗机启发了许多公司跟进。好，原来这个 they 所代替呢，就是那些改良的公司。第三题正确答案是 B。 最后请同学看到第四题啦，这是第四段第一句，很有可能是主题句，标示一整段的大意，所以我们应该要大略了解一下后面这些句子的意思。早期的机型体积很庞大，价格又很贵，对大多数家庭来说也不实用。那一直要到1950年代，因为热水系统管线呢都跟着改善了，洗碗机呢就变得比较小，而且呢价格也比较实惠，后来才在市面上越来越普及哦。大家应该可以看得到这项产品在市场上接受度随着时间所发生的转折，对吧？好，所以选 D。 However, it was hard for dishwashers to enter the household market at first. 好，这是最合适的， 表示一刚开始洗碗机呢是没有办法打进家电市场的，一直到后来体积变小了，价格更实惠了，很多家庭呢才开始购买洗碗机。好，第4题正确答案选 D。 以上就是我们针对这一篇篇章结构所做的中文解题讲解。I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Okay, everybody, for English Digest, I'm Leah.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you again next time.
Bye-bye.